Okay, now we're gonna get started with creating a edit from beginning to end. The first thing we're gonna do is open up HitFilm Express. Once you have this opened, what you're gonna do is click where it says New, or you can press File and New. Whichever one you pick, that's gonna open up a new project. Now, under Template, you wanna always choose 1080p. Nowadays, nobody's using 720p. You can also edit for Instagram and 2K and 4K, but more likely you're going to be shooting 1080p. Now, there's different frame rates 23.976, 24, 29.9, 30, 59.94, and 60 from frame per second. Now, hopefully, you know by now what your camera is shooting in. If you're shooting on a phone, you can look up what frame rate your phone is shooting in. You're shooting with a DSLR, you can choose 24 frames per second, 30, 60. Chances are you're going to be shooting at 24 frames per second, which in most cameras is 23.976. Now, the question is, should I choose 23.976 or 24? My recommendation is just choose 23.976. The reason that number exists is because that's more accurate to what most cameras are shooting. They're not shooting perfect 24. They're shooting usually like point zero 0.02 something less than 24. If you know you're shooting in 30 frames, use the 29.97. If you know you're shooting in 60, use the 59.94. Those are made because those are the accurate frame rates that these cameras are shooting in. So I shot this video on my phone right here. If you don't know, another way to find out is you right click and click on details, and you can see it's 29 frames per second. It's actually 29 point whatever. So on your video files, you can see on your computer what the frame rate was. So this was shot in that, what's it called here, 29.97. This is the one that it was shot in. So that's the one I'm going to choose. You don't pick a template and then change the frame rate. The template should have the frame rate, so just leave this alone. Leave the width and height alone. Leave everything else alone. This is just how you want it. Now you can have compositing and editing. You're going to want to click where it says start editing. I'll go over what compositing means, but we're going to start with editing. So you click where it says start editing right here. Then it's going to open up something that looks like reset. It looks like this. Now, first thing you want to do is drag your files that you're going to be editing into this little box here where it says media. I'm going to drag and drop this video file. And then right here, let me show you a little bit of this layout. On the left side, bottom left, is this area that has your media files in, effects, and other sorts. In the top left is this trimmer. What this trimmer does is allows you to kind of watch your video and trim the beginning and ends of the video. Now, here's the thing. I think the trimmer is useless. You can do that already here in the editor. So there's no reason to need this big box here that's blocking out space for me to do my edits. So I'm going to get rid of this trimmer in a second, but that's what you're going to have when you first start up your program. On the right side is this viewer that's showing you the final results, the videos that you're editing. On the bottom here is where all your files are going to be at that you're editing. So this is the editor that you're going to cut and edit. And on the right here is this audio meter that tells you if the audio, what the volume of the audio is, if it's too high or too low. Now, I'm going to edit this workspace to match what I want. So first thing I'm going to do is where you hear where it says workspace up on the center, you click on that and you can see what stuff you want to see. Now I'm going to get rid of the one that says trimmer, and now I have no trimmer. Now I want to drag this box here with this media next to this. In order to do that, I click on this box while holding shift. On a Mac or PC, you're holding shift. You hold shift and you want to be right here near the top in this little blue area. You hold shift and click on that and then drag it, and now you can move it anywhere you want. While holding onto it, I go on the top and click left of, like I put my mouse over this and it's gonna I'm gonna move the box to the left of the preview screen. And when I let go, now this window is up here to the left of the preview screen. And now all my files that I'm using are up here, my preview screen is here, and I have this whole bottom spot to edit in. I can also make boxes bigger and smaller. So right here I can drag this and make this bigger or smaller. This is as small as it gets, so that's fine. I can make this bigger or smaller. I don't need to make it bigger because the left to right, this is as big as the screen can get. I can make this bigger by dragging this down, and now the previous screen is bigger. So when I'm editing, if I want to see the video and it be bigger, I can drag this down, press play, watch my video, and then drag this back up and keep editing. So I'm going to be dragging this up and down a lot as I'm editing. Now, here's all my files that I've dragged. You're going to drag audio files and video files. Your audio that's in your video is mixed in, but if you have music or audio clips of you talking that you want to include with your video, they're all going to be dragged and dropped here. You can also press import and find it in your computer and then click open, and it's going to be opened here. Here you'll see a list of all your video files that you're using to edit it. Now, once you have your video files on here, what you want to do is drag your video file to the editor. It says the editor sequence differs to the clip you're adding. Do you want to change the editor sequence settings to match the clip? The answer is always no, and I'll tell you why in a second. But I'm going to press no, and you're going to see here that the clip is smaller than the editor. And the reason is because my iPhone compressed everything into 720p instead of 1080p, and it made everything smaller. And I have two options. I can make the whole video smaller that I'm going to be editing, or I can make the clip bigger. And I want to make the clip bigger so the final video is in 1080p, full HD. So in order to do that, I have two choices. I can drag this corner and make it fit the box, which is the one I don't recommend you do. Or I can right click on this clip here, and then where it says transform, I click fit to frame, and that's gonna make this full screen. So far we've added my files, worked on my workspace, and I added a video to the editor. Now, if you like this workspace, if you created any custom workspace, like maybe you put this on the right side and this on the left side, or maybe you got rid of the audio meter here, whatever space you created, you're gonna wanna save that workspace. So right here where you have the workspace section, you're gonna write create, you're gonna name your workspace, and I already named it editing mine. These are the workspace options that they give you. Editing mine, when I click on that, it opens up like this. If I go to editing, it's gonna take me to this custom one that they have, with effects over here, the media here, the trimmer, and all of this. But I like my workspace the best. So I'm going to go to editing mine. And now I have the one that I've created. Now, once you've dragged your files and put them here in the editor, the first thing I recommend you to do is to save your file. To save your file, you click right here in this little save icon that says Untitled Project. It's right now unsaved. Click on this and you pick where you want to save it. So let's save this under free video editing. I'm going to call this HitFilm Project. Click save, and now it's saved. While you're editing your video, you always want to save your work over time. So you edit for a few minutes, save your work, edit for a few more minutes, save your work. Get used to saving your work. If you don't save your work, you end up realizing that at some point your computer could turn off, this program could crash, the lights in your house could go off and the computer turns off. So many things can happen. You could accidentally press X and close the program. Whatever thing could happen has happened to me in the past as a video editor, and I've lost my work. And it comes back to the last saved spot where I saved it. So you always want to be saving your work. And when you save your work, at any moment, you can close the program, come back, open it, and continue where you left off. So make sure you're always saving your work. Now, let's go here into some of these buttons here that you're going to use to edit your work. Now, these are the tools that you can use to edit the files that you've put in the editor. This first button allows you to select the file and move it left and right. I can push it over here, I can push it over here. That's basically what the select tool does. This drag tool allows you to drag so let's say we're zoomed in a little. It lets you drag left and right to see different parts of the video. I'm going to show you this area down here. This is the zoom in tool to zoom in and out of your video file. So the scale of your timeline. You can drag this out. And this is zoomed out all the way so you can see the whole video. But this is 45 minutes of video. So I need to zoom in to be able to see certain parts better. And then drag to the beginning. So I drag to the beginning. You can also drag up and down to see different files. Now, before I move forward, I want to show you what these tracks mean here. Video 1 is the video clip 1 that you've added. If I add another video clip, it's going to be video 2. Audio 1 is the audio track that goes along with video 1. Or it could be your video with no audio and then music that you've added. Whatever audio track is first inserted goes in audio 1. When you add music, it's going to be under audio 2. Now, if I go back to the select tool, right here is this opacity dragger. You don't want to mess with this, but if you do, let me show you what happens. If I drag this down, you're going to see that that video clip is disappearing. And you see that percentage that says 77, 64, 37, 100. 100 is as high as it goes. Basically, at 100 opacity, you can see everything. At around 50, half of the video is seen and half is see-through, so you can see stuff behind it. And at 0, you don't see any of it anymore. The reason why anybody messes with the opacity is if they have something something on top of this, so another video file, and they want to kind of show it in a low opacity with whatever underneath this is showing at 100%. It's too complicated, just don't mess with it, leave it at 100%. Down here you have this volume that you can drag up and down. Now it's called levels. So right here at 0, that's the default volume of the audio that was shot in. If I bring the level up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way to 12, it's bringing the levels of the audio up 12, meaning it's just going to be louder. If I bring it down to negative, it's going to become the volume's going to go down all the way to the bottom, negative 60. You're just not going to hear it anymore. So if something's too loud or not loud enough, you can raise this up and down to make it louder, or lower the volume. Now, the next tool here is the slice tool. This allows you to cut in any point of your video. If you cut accidentally somewhere you don't want, you can press Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, or you can click right here, this undo. You see it says Control plus Z. This will go back anything that you did while editing. So if I cut somewhere I didn't want to cut, I can undo it. Now, the reason you want to cut is because that's what editing is. You want to cut things out of this 45-minute clip and delete it so that what's left is the final project. Let's say I cut this area here, and I want to get rid of this. I go back to my selection tool, click on it, and then press delete on your keyboard, and now it's gone. I didn't want to do that, so I press Control Z, 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 or this undo button several times, and then it goes back to normal. Now, all these other tools here, you're not really gonna mess with as a beginner editor. And when you get into more advanced editing, you're gonna play with these, but for now, you're just gonna focus on these top 3. Another thing you can do is when you right click this, you can change the speed from 100 to 200. So 200%. What that does is it speeds up the video, so now you're watching things in fast motion. Or the opposite, you can change it to 50% and it makes everything go in slow motion. I'm gonna press cancel now. You can do that on a clip as well. So let's say I sliced this little area here and I want just this area to be slow motion. I right click, click speed and duration, switch this to 50, press OK, drag this out, and here's my longer clip, and now I have this in slow motion. Now, you can press play here or press the space bar, and you can stop by pressing the enter key. So space bar, play, enter, stops, or space bar as well also stops. You can just press space bar twice to start it and stop it. So you're watching this in slow motion. I'm gonna undo all this. So those are your basics to editing. To watch at any point, anywhere in the clip, you can just move your mouse over on this top part here, this timeline area, and it will start anywhere. And then if you want to start from the beginning, you can press right here where it says move playhead to start, and you can start from the beginning. And then press play and watch it. So that's a little introduction to some of the things we're going to be messing with to edit this. In the next section, we're going to actually get into editing this video.